Welcome back, everybody, to Not Too Old Timers. I'm Brian,
And I'm Corey.
and we are not two old timers sitting around telling stories and talking about things.
I'm not too
So,
old yet,
yeah, well, we're getting there, slow but sure.
right?
So, what's going on this week, buddy?
I've got this story. I was having a conversation earlier today, and I got a friend out in the city, and he was talking about his dog ran away, and it really reminded me of something from many years ago in some of the worst times of my life. But his story was his wife left to go grocery shopping, and somehow the dog got out of the house behind her, and nobody noticed. And she came back, and she was looking around the house, couldn't find the dog, and they had found out that the dog got out of the house and ran off. And so he spent the whole day searching for this dog. And the neighbors called him up and said, "Hey, the dog's at the front door waiting to come back inside. Come back home now." And he came home, and the dog just spent all day cruising around the city and then decided, "Okay, I'm tired. I want to go back home," and came back home. So it was kind of nice. It was a good ending to his story. But it had reminded me of a dog running away from many years ago when I was still active duty in the military. I was married to my first wife, which was a disaster of a marriage. We were married for 11 years, and I don't think we had happy moments in our marriage all 11 years. It was pretty bad. We were holding on just for the sake of things, right? But I was I had a previous duty assignment, and I had an individual PCS in, and I had trained him up on my duty position and the responsibilities of it. I left to my follow-on assignment, which was where I was at the time. And he did his year in Korea and came to that same follow-on duty assignment. So we had a little bit of a rapport. So I sponsored him and his family into that duty assignment, right? Hooked him up with everything, got him a hotel room, housing, got him out to find cars and get his kids into the education system and the whole shebang, right? But
All
he
right.
had a little dog, a little Chihuahua, and he PCS'd with the Chihuahua, but he didn't have anywhere to house the dog, so he was going to go to the kennels and put the dog up in the kennels for whatever the requirement was. There's like a quarantine requirement and stuff like that.
Yeah, the
And
6 month quarantine.
I
Yeah.
yeah, so and I told him, I said, "Hey, I live on base. There's no need for you to pay an arm and a leg because it's really expensive. Pay an arm and a leg for quarantining your dog at the kennels. Why don't I take your dog until you find a better means? More than likely, you're married. You're gonna have a on base housing, and you'll just take the dog and quarantine them in your on base housing. I'll bring the dog to my house. I have a little Chihuahua. They're two little Chihuahuas. They'll play together. They'll have fun, and it'll be cool." And I was excited. He was like, "Yeah, that helps so much, dude. Thank you." And so I have this little dog that I'm taking care of, my dog and his dog, right? And one day I get up in the morning, and it's been maybe about a week, right? I've taken care of this little dog for about a week. My wife is having fun with the dog and playing with everyone, and it's a good time, right? The dog's even playing with my first daughter, and it's a nice situation. I get up one morning and go downstairs, make my morning coffee, and I notice that the back sliding door is open, but it's not open a lot. It's only open about 3 or 4 inches, just
Okay.
enough, just enough for a little ass Chihuahua to get through. And I'm like, "Hey, is that door open? Do you know that door is open? Why is that door open?" And I start looking around, and I find my dog. He's just chilling, sleeping. He didn't do anything. But I'm looking and I'm like, I don't remember the name of the dog now. I'm like, where's that other Chihuahua? Where's this guy's dog at? And I'm looking around, I can't find it. I'm like, "Oh my God, did that fucking dog run out the door?" If he ran out that door, I don't know where he's at. It's gone. Sure as shit. That dog ran out the sliding door and disappeared somewhere. And I'm supposed to be taking care of this dude's dog. And I'm just like, I don't understand why that door is open. That's never been a normal thing in our family. It's not something that you do. And she just shrugged it off, right? My wife just shrugged it off and just like she just didn't care. And I was kind of really confused at the whole situation. And I was thinking about it today and I was looking back and I was like, how come shit happens in life? Like that there's some things that happen in life that I just don't understand, that I cannot explain logically, right? And I started going through this situation. Let me backtrack a little bit. I did find
Okay.
the dog. I did find the dog. So I called the dude up right away. I want to finish the story of the dog. I called the dude up right away and I was like, "Hey man, I think your dog ran away. I'm trying to find it. I don't want you to panic. I'm starting to panic a little bit, but I want to let you know I'm going to take care. I want to let you know I'm going to take care of the situation, right?"
Nobody
And
panic.
yeah, and I was panicking. I was like, "I'm such a fucking piece of shit." Um, and it turns out that the dog had ran to a yard a couple of houses down that was fenced and somehow wedged itself through the fence and got into their backyard. And so that family woke up and found this little tiny chihuahua stuck in their fenced off yard. They're like, how did this dog get in this fenced yard? And so they were taking care of the dog. And thankfully, I was able to go down and get the dog back from them and everything, you know. So, like, oh my gosh. So I call him back up. Hey, man, I've got your dog. Everything's cool. um, maybe you should probably get another house to take care of your dog because I think there was something malicious that happened in my house, you know. And I was trying to really be kind about it. Um, but you know, looking back, my wife and I at the time, my ex-wife now and I at the time, we had always had difficulties, right? And we weren't at the point of getting a divorce at that time. We weren't having that discussion or anything like that. And looking back now at that situation, and I was asking myself, why would that door be open? Why would she open that door? You know, and the only logical explanation that I can really think about looking at the whole situation, her reaction and everything was she did it purposefully to allow that dog to run off because she didn't care about that dog. She didn't care about me responsibilities helping another family, and she just was like the easy decision would be for her to just release herself from from the burdens of responsibility, right? And just fucking she let that dog run away. I was so pissed. I couldn't believe it. But I was kind of in
And so
shock,
you
right?
you
And I
mentioned
think
earlier that go ahead.
go ahead. I mentioned earlier what
I saying you mentioned earlier that she was enjoying the dog, right? That she was having fun with the dog and whatnot.
she seemed to be from what I
Mm.
could tell. So I don't know if something snapped inside of her or she just woke up in some fucking um bipolar episode or something. I don't know. But she
So
suddenly
so
just
this
it
wasn't
seemed she
a
decided.
precursor.
Yeah,
Okay, so
there was nothing leading up. I
okay.
woke up one day and the door was open. I was like, "Why is that door open? That door's never open." You know? She let the fucking dog out. Oh my god. And she wasn't like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It was an accident." Nope, she didn't give a fuck. She didn't care at all. I was just fucking
Did
blown
she
away.
tell you she left the door open?
No, dude, I found it. I found it. I didn't even know the dog was gone for a while. It was bad.
Mm.
It was embarrassing on my end, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, I
I've
bet.
I call the dude. I do all the right things. I did all the right things, and you know, I didn't try to save face. Try, you know, and just fucking humbled myself. And hey, man, this fucking your dog ran away. I gotta find your dog. I'm so sorry. This is a really bad thing, and you know, having none of that support network from my wife, man, was just like it hurt, you know. And I wasn't willing to accept at the time that that was an intentional thing that she did. And there's when I look back, when I look back in life, not just with my ex-wife, right? But when I look back in life, there's so many things. There's so many times that shit just happened where I was like, what the fuck? Like why did that happen? Why did that happen to me? Why did I seem like I was targeted for that? And I think a lot of it is because it was, right? I was
It was
targeted for that.
intentional.
It was
Yeah, okay.
absolutely intentional, and it was intentional because either somebody despised me, somebody was jealous of me, somebody wanted to embarrass me, etc., etc., right? And I think,
Right.
you know, Um, I had done some work at one point in time, and and went up to uh call him my mentor, right? And I was like, hey man, all
Okay.
this shit keeps going on. You know him, Tony, and from old Tony.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
Tony? He had cancer behind his eyeball and everything. Dude's still kicking it,
yeah, yeah.
still living. Fucking couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe he survived all of that. That was insane. Um, and I was like, all this shit's going on, blah 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 blah, right? And did all this stuff, and he's just like, God damn, Corey, you don't see it, do you? And I was like, no, that's why I'm here. I'm fucking seeking advice. He says you keep he says you keep putting yourself into situations where you're making yourself vulnerable to the wrong people. You're making yourself vulnerable and allowed to be taken advantage of and be hurt by all the wrong people. And I didn't see that for a long time, you know? And it's
Mm,
crazy to think that my wife was somebody that I should not allow myself to be vulnerable because I couldn't trust her with my vulnerability. Does that make sense? As a man, that's an incredibly important thing. As a man, you should be able to trust your wife. You should be able to be vulnerable about around your wife, right?
yeah, yeah,
When you're out in the
definitely.
world as a man, you got to present yourself and not be vulnerable in situations. So you got to let go of that at some point in time.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we tend just naturally, people like you and I, we tend to want to believe that everybody's inherently good, and that they're not people aren't going to intentionally do negative shit, you know,
I start out.
just
That is my
cuz.
starting. Yeah, that is my starting point. When I meet somebody, that
Yeah.
is my starting point. This is very true. That is my starting point. It's
Yeah.
like you're a clean slate.
Yeah, and until it's something blatant like with your dog issue, you don't really ever see it. They could be, you know, for the lack of a better term, they could be poisoning you for years.
Oh,
But
dude, trust
until
me.
it's something blatant, you
S-
know, you know what I mean?
Funny you say that because at this point in life, looking back on my first marriage, I'm convinced that the only reason I actually survived that marriage is because I blatantly told my ex-wife when we were still married, if you kill me, I will come back and haunt you. And I'm convinced that's the only fucking reason she didn't kill me. Because she had plenty of opportunities. She would have. She wanted to. I know it. Right?
Yeah,
I'm convinced that's the only reason she didn't is because I told her I would haunt her. I think that's
yeah,
the only. I think that saved my life. And I'm fucking. I was serious as fuck too. I was like, I will find a way. There's some spiritual realm that I will figure out on the other side or in between, and I will fucking haunt the shit out of you for the rest of your existence.
yeah. Well, and they believe that shit.
I believe that shit. I was gonna find a way, dude. Oh
Oh,
man,
that's awesome. Yeah,
that marriage sucked,
yeah. I
man.
mean,
You know, we can do a show.
there.
I can do shows on that. It was so bad. That marriage was so bad. I'm so glad I'm out of it. It was hell. It was fucking hell. People don't
Yeah.
need to stay in
Well,
hell
and
in marriages that are hell, man. That's not what a marriage is for.
yeah, but yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, brother. It's one of those things where it's like, but like I was saying earlier, ultimately you don't realize it's hell because you're
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 in it.
kind of oblivious. Yeah, it's like what I said in our last episode with the growth of towns and things like that. It's like, when you're in the middle of it, you don't see the negative shit starting to pile up
Yeah.
until it's so big that you just can't. It's insurmountable at
You
that
don't
point.
get to have the outside perspective. You have an
Yeah,
inner
yeah,
distorted perception. It's not, you know, you're immersed in it. You don't see how big of a problem it can be. Yeah. Or it is or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Very that's
yeah.
very true. Or you have hope, like false hope,
It's
you
the
know.
hope that kills. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, you're right. You're well, and we have the hero syndrome or whatever, where we think we can fix this person or we believe that our love can overcome things, but sometimes it just can't.
Yeah, it's true.
It,
Man,
sometimes it's just too
me and
much.
her eventually we got a divorce, and the lead up to that divorce is fantastic. That's a big story in itself. We should do a show on that. That's a show on my divorces. Wow. Um, I can't go into too many details of that because there's like records and stuff. But
Yeah.
uh, whew, goodness.
Needless to say, it was epic.
When we got a divorce and she left, when she finally like left, to this day, I have not received any information from her. None. Not a phone call, not a letter, not an email, absolutely nothing. Nothing even from a lawyer. Like I don't even know how that fucking is the lady alive? I've got no idea. No idea. And dude, it took so long for me to get over the hatred and the pain for that woman. Oh my god. People told me you got to pray for others. Like when you have resentments, you got to pray for them, right? And I would pray for them. I would pray like I would like same as like when I was a kid and I my stepdad and I fucking hated my stepdad. And I'd be like, I pray he dies. I pray he gets hit by a car on his way to work and all this like terrible shit, right? Like that's not what God want to hear you pray about, right? But I did, and I would do that. I would pray for her, and I'd pray she's fucking miserable, and I pray that everyone around her hates her, and these things, and then they were like, these people are like, you got to pray for her, and I'm like, I'm praying for all these horrible things to happen
You're
to
doing the
her,
wrong kind of
and
praying.
they're like, no, 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 that's not what we're talking about, dude. They said, what is it that you want in life? And I was like, I want serenity, I want peace of mind, I want clarity, I want to have calmness. And they're like, that's what you need to pray for her. And so I started doing it. I was like, they told me that. And I was like, that's stupid. Like, I don't want to do that. Why do I want to pray for her calmness and her? Like, I want her to be miserable.
Yeah.
And so I took their advice and I started praying for her. I started praying for her for the things that I want. And I later shared this with another individual, and he said that's so funny because I did the same thing with my ex-wife, and I started praying for her. I hope she can have a really cool motorcycle, like all these things. And I was like, yo, that's awesome. Like that's awesome. But I promise you, like my ex-wife is a woman that I don't know who she is anymore, right? I don't hold a lot of resentments for her. There's things that in the past that I can be angry about if I allow myself to be angry about. But she's a complete stranger to me. And I can't have a resentment to somebody who's a complete stranger, you know. So it's a nice thing. Like I can tell these stories like this dog and everything like and look back on the situation and think why would she do that? What would be and the obvious answer that I'm still having a hard time willingly accepting is she did it completely intentional. Either it was to piss me off, to incite some kind of rage, more than likely knowing her it was to try to get me to be mad and rage the fuck out so that she could use it against me, right? Um,
Right.
which I can be known for doing, have been known for doing, still can do. Don't thank fucking God, right? Um, but I can, and I'm thankful that as an individual, as me, I've been able to grow past those times in my life.
Yeah.
But I still look
Yeah.
back on them. I still look back on them and go, why?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I got a lot of that too with my ex.
Yeah.
So I know where you're coming from, brother.
Oh
and
man.
and it does. It begs the question is, because we don't live in the other person's mindset, it does make us question that because I do it a lot. It's like, why? What what did that accomplish? What was the purpose behind that? I mean, was it just to make me fucking miserable? I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
you enjoy seeing me miserable? Is that the point? So yeah. But once you realize how toxic those types of people are, you gotta be like, okay,
You gotta learn to spot them, right? To a certain extent.
Yeah.
Or maybe not even initially spot it, but recognize those traits. And then when you get to recognize the
Yeah.
traits, go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool, I get it. Disconnecting, right? No grudges,
Yeah.
not going to be mad. I just know what that personality is, and I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to put up a fence, and this is a boundary that I'm not going to cross, and that's
Yeah.
for my own sanity. That's for my own well-being.
Yeah. Because if you don't take care, I mean, ultimately, if you don't take care of it, or if you don't recognize it up front, you could be sucked back into that.
Very
You know,
very
you really
much so.
could.
Very much so. Like
Yeah.
it's like abusive relationships. A woman leaves an abusive relationships and gets involved in another abusive relationship.
Yeah.
It's like, man, there's got to be a boundary. You gotta set it down, recognize it.
Yeah.
Tell you
Well,
what, though,
I'm sorry you had to go through that, man.
I'm, dude, I'm not sorry I had to go through it. Trust me, it sucked. It sucked. That was an incredible life experience. I never want to experience it again. But I could not live the life that I have today if I had not had that life experience. Does that make sense?
Oh
I
yeah.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
who
You
I
wouldn't be
am.
the
I
same
wouldn't be
person
who
you
I
are. Yeah.
am today. I wouldn't have all of that life knowledge without going through hell. Like I say it, dude. Like I pitched a fucking tent at the gates of hell, and I would wake up in the morning and I would rattle the gates, begging for them to let me in, and they wouldn't let me in. I was denied access to hell. I was camping out at the gates. It was a
Well,
miserable
shit.
existence, but I'm not there
Yeah.
anymore, you know?
Yeah, and you are much happier now.
Very much so. I live a good life today. Live a real good
Yeah. I
life
mean, you're
today.
still a miserable old fuck, but
I can be
other
if
than
I let
that,
myself. Oh,
uh,
Jesus. Hey, on that
yeah,
note,
man.
though, side
Yeah.
note to
Go
that,
ahead.
I got myself to a 12-step meeting today, and man, oh man, it's been so nice to go. Like life's been busy, I got the newborn baby, and I got a sick wife, and I'm taking care of, and it's been a little bit rough, right? And so I got the opportunity to go to a 12-step meeting today, and I swear to you, there was like two people in that room I knew. Everybody else seemed to be newcomers. It felt so good to be in that room and talk about things and just pass my experience and knowledge on 9 years and some change, of not camping out at the gates of hell.
Yeah.
And it's been such a relief. It was so uplifting, you know, to have a reminder that I'm not doing this alone. There's other people doing it with me. It's a fucking good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the hardest things when you're in the depths of it. It's one of the hardest things to recognize is that you're not truly alone. You might feel like it often, but there's always somebody out there going through the same thing, you know.
When I was going through it, I was completely alone. There was nobody out there dealing with what I
Right.
was dealing with. Not that I saw, not that I knew, because it's such a hidden thing. It's not
Yeah.
publicized until I got to a point to where I started, like finding other people that were doing the same thing, and it was like, holy shit, I'm not so unique. Like this is a shared experience that's incredibly common with other addicts and alcoholics. Like this is awesome. You did that too? So I'm not a big piece of shit.
Yeah, but in our line of work, at that point, even at that point in your life, you could have probably thrown a rock and hit 15 other people that were going through the same thing you were going
Oh,
through.
absolutely. Well,
It just wasn't
once you start to
advertised.
recognize it, yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. There's
you know,
absolutely countless individuals, um, after getting clean and sober that I was able to help that were very close to me. And there's more
yeah,
that are still close to me. There's still more that are close to me. My parents, for example, they're in their they're in a bad spot. I had a good conversation with my sister the other day, and I was like, "Yo, do you ever have conversation with mom?" She was like, "Nope," and she just laid it out, and I was
yeah,
like, "Yeah, that's exactly what's been going on with me." And I told her, and I said, "I'm so tired. I'm tired. I can't do anything for him." And she was just like, "No, I don't even talk to him anymore, like at all." And
yeah. I
that
mean,
was
that's
it
where
was
I'm
hard to
at
hear.
for the most part.
Yeah, it was hard to hear, but
Yeah,
that's exactly where I was at, and I was like, I can't communicate with them because they just don't communicate with me, and I'm afraid. There's nothing I can do about it, but those two they're gonna drink themselves into a fucking grave in just a few years. They're retired, right? They were just retired, and 65 or so, and I was like, they don't have 10 years left on them. It's bad.
Yeah. Well,
It's
yeah.
sad.
And the whole, in the last episode I mentioned we went back to Colorado during our vacation, and the whole reason we went was to visit my mom because
Mm-hmm.
she's in the same boat. She's very sick. She's getting on in age, um, and I had planned to spend 3 days just go down there spend time with her because this might be the last time I see her. And
Hmm.
sure as shit, man, and under the same guise of the discussion, um, we were there maybe 45 minutes, and I looked over at the wife and I was like, "We gotta go. I
Hmm.
I can't do this anymore. I just cannot be around these people
This
because
is not
it's
an
one of those
environment
things
to be
where
in. Hmm.
yeah, and I thought I had moved past all that. I'm fucking 52 years old. You'd think I'd know better, but you know, just her talking about how she was such a great mom and all this other shit. It just got my blood boiling, and I was just like, you know, and you don't want to sit there. She's sick and she's old, and you don't want to sit there and go, "No, you were a fucking horrible mom,"
Yeah.
you know. But
My
it got
sister
to the
does
point
that.
that
My sister has absolutely. I've not done that. My sister has done that.
yeah.
My sister
So I was just like,
has been blatantly honest with both her parents. It's amazing.
yeah. And so it was one of those things where I was just like, even in the 45 minutes we were sitting there, I could just feel the toxicity coming out of her, and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to be around this. This is not conducive, like you said, exactly like you said, for my serenity and my sanity. This is not. I can't sit here. I just can't. So I was just like, I gotta go. So we got up and left.
I went
Yeah.
back. My grandfather passed away several years back, and I went back home and I stayed with my parents for a few days. We traveled down to Southern California to do his funeral, everything, and then went back up north, and then I spent a few more days with family, and I would call up my littlest sister because she lived the closest, um, just about every single day, and just like, hey, are you working today? Can you come pick me up? Can you get me the fuck out of this house? Because I hadn't realized how nasty and disastrous that household was until I had went back at, like, 35, 38 years old or something like that, begging my little sister 10 years younger than me, hey, please come pick me up. you know,
Yeah. It's
like,
ridiculous,
get
man.
me away from this. And then I realized I had to apologize to my sisters because when I turned 18, it was actually before I turned 18, I had joined the military, and I turned 18, and a couple months after graduating high school, I quit my job, sold my truck, sold my motorcycle, got on an airplane, flew to Texas to basic training, and never fucking came back, And what I didn't realize is I was running away from that environment, and I never went back to it. And I was leaving my two younger sisters there to fend for themselves because I was just like, I'm not doing this. And I didn't realize I did that until I was calling them up and saying, hey, come pick me up. Like, please, you know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. It's
family. I mean, in all, that's life, right? That's life. And you can't
yeah.
choose when it's a biological family, you don't choose that portion of your family. It's just part of life. But you don't necessarily have to be close to them. You don't have to completely cut them off either.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I still talk to my mom, but it's like once every few months. But it's always the same thing. It's just like, you know, oh, somebody did this and somebody stole my money and blah blah blah, and it's just like, you know, okay,
Hmm.
yeah. But anyway, now I'm depressed.
Oh no. Oh no, I'm
I'm just
sorry.
kidding. I
So
stopped letting
anyways,
that shit
yeah.
depress me a long
Shit,
time ago, man.
again, that's like shit happens in life, and it's just like we don't understand it sometimes. What the fuck? And sometimes I don't know. Maybe it's just people are ill, people are sick sometimes. Um People don't realize it, people don't recognize it. Sometimes people don't want help. Sometimes they need it,
Yeah.
you know. And then and
Yeah.
it's also a relationship. Not everybody's going to have a good relationship with each other. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But we live and learn. We grow up, and we decide who we want to be as people, and we can only be accountable for ourselves, and that's just as long as you can you and we're gonna screw up. We make mistakes, but as long as you acknowledge the mistakes you're making, and you know
There's a part of growth in life, right, where you are going to make mistakes. That's a guaranteed. But when you do make them, you have to recognize, was that a mistake that I'm willing to make again, or is that a mistake that I'm going to aim to no longer make, and I'm going to do better at that situation from now on, right? And better yourself as a person. And a lot of that is spiritual growth, right?
yeah,
Am I willing to do what's necessary to spiritually grow to be a better person?
yeah, yeah,
Has a big impact on mental
and,
health.
and yeah, and sometimes it's hard, but if you put in the work, you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Big time. Okay, I want to
Yeah.
get to this. I got a subject coming up that I'm pretty excited about. Um, I'm gonna save this next subject for the next show because I think it's interesting. I didn't pull a lot of material. I might in the meantime pull a lot of material for it. But it's
Okay.
something that has popped up in society in social media talks that is like, it's kind of fun to joke with, but it's also like one of those fear factor things like, what if? Like, holy shit, what if? You know? I think it's kind of fucking cool. It's a little dorky maybe too. I'm excited.
Okay.
That's gonna be the next show. So come back for the next show as well, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
All right. I look forward to it, brother.
Yeah, man. Hey, if you're out there listening to this and you liked what you heard, give us a like, give us a follow, uh, share us to a friend that would like it. Put a comment in there. Let us know what you want to talk. Let us know what you want to hear because we want to talk about it. One of these days, I'm going to say that right. Let us
I
know
doubt it.
what you want to talk about. Nope, said it wrong. Let us know what you want to hear because we want to talk about it. Ah, dang, man. That's crazy.
There you go.
All right.
Good job.
Y'all have a good night.
All right. See you later, guys.